WHGE 95.3 FM. Coming up, the Open Eye. All right. Let's get them started.
Those of us that indulge in or commit intellectual violence don't do so for the pleasure of mental masturbation or egotism. We do so because the chains of oppression on people's minds are deep and difficult to remove.
Good morning, my children of the sun. Welcome to the Open Eye on WHGE 95.3 FM, the education advocacy station. I'm your host, Patrice Gibbs, third eye optometrist here to get you started, to get your mind, to get your eye open. That's right. Don't let nobody put the blinders on your third eye. It's germane to your spirituality, to your existence. Every generation has its purpose. Ours is to reveal the truth and reverse the brainwashing. And that's what we do right here on WHGE 95.3 FM. Let me tell you something. Lock in to WHGE. That's word on 95.3 FM because nobody does it better. That's right. Nobody does it better. Right here on WHGE. All right. Let's get them started. Let me get my disclaimer out the way right quick. And we're going to move on with getting your eye open. Hey, Steve. All right.
The views and opinions expressed on the Open Eye are those of the hosts, guests, and contributors, and do not reflect the policy or position of WHGE 95.3 FM, nor our sponsor, the Delaware Center for Homeless Vets. Any content provided by Open Eye's hosts, guests, or contributors are theirs and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, company, or individual.
All right. WHGE 95.3 FM. You know, it's something that one of the things that I advocate is home education, especially with they just what is it? Trump signed the executive order to abolish, to get rid of the Department of Education. Yeah, we'll run that later. But our people, need to be aware of what they're doing. Because this is not something new, the falsehood in our education. Remember when, what's the clown's name? Ben Carson. And he said that, slaves were involuntary immigrants. Yeah, they came here to better their lives involuntarily. You ever heard such dumb crap? Involuntarily came here to improve their life. What does that? That means you were kidnapped. And you got things out there like, whoa, where the slaves live? Well, they lived in small wooden homes on a plantation. They were cramped homes and they were often separated from family. Well, who owned slaves? Well, plantation owners and wealthy colonists and what have you. Well, what jobs did slaves have? Well, they worked in the fields and churned butter and chores and did chores around the house. It makes it sound makes it sound so, easy and what have you. Brother Jakeem, Sherry, I seen. And why did slaves come to America? Well, they came as an exchange for the trip to America, and African Americans agreed to work for colonists for 7 years, but then they were kept as slaves. First of all, they did not agree to a damn thing. Like I said, they were kidnapped. You got idiots, like I said, what's his name? Ben Carson, up saying that dumb mess. And you have the moms of liberty, who are nothing but the descendants of the daughters of the Confederate, whitewashing the history, making slavery romantic. Yeah. You ever seen Gone with the Wind? Yeah, Hattie McDaniel won an Oscar, the first black person to win an Oscar for her role in that movie. And it just made slavery look just so peaceful, and she was like a mother to Scarlett O'Hara. Get the hell out of here. See, I wouldn't have to be pro-black if there was an anti-black first. I wouldn't have to teach my people to love themselves if they weren't being taught to hate themselves first. Who would that sound like? Malcolm? Yeah, buddy. Yeah, and I like quotes. Like this one right here. Looking at life from a different perspective makes you realize that it's not the deer that is crossing the road. Rather, it's the road that is crossing the forest. Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali could get something said, That's her. And speaking of Muhammad Ali, we just lost a great. George Foreman. Yeah, George Foreman passed away yesterday at the age of 76. He's athlete, widely successful businessman. He's a fearsome heavyweight who lost the Rumble in the Jungle to Muhammad Ali. And he came back at the age of 45 and became champion. And he was a successful businessman. And his family announced his death on social media. His family wrote he was a devout preacher, a devoted husband, a loving father, and proud grand and great-grandfather. He lived a life marked by unwavering faith, humility, and purpose. Foreman was a native Texan. He began his boxing career as an Olympic gold medalist who inspired fear as he climbed in the ring of the heavyweight division by stopping Joe Frazier in 1973. I remember that fight. His formidable aura evaporated only a year later when Ali pulled off one of the most audacious victories in boxing history in Zaire, baiting and taunting Foreman into losing his belt in one of the greatest fights ever staged. Yes, indeed. It really hurt Foreman to lose that fight, as I remember. And of course, those of us that are Ali fans, we were cheering our heads off. That's word. I see Sister Samantha. Yes, indeed. And Foreman left the sport a few years later, but he returned after a 10-year absence and a self-described religious awakening. He then pulled off one of the most spectacular knockouts in boxing history in 1994, flooring Michael Moorer, 19 years his junior, and with one perfect combination to claim Moore's 2 heavyweight title belts. Foreman's transformation into an inspirational figure was complete, and he fought only 4 more times before moving on to his next career as a genial businessman, pitchman, and an occasional actor. He was best known as the face of the George Foreman grill, a rudimentary cooking machine, I have one, which sold more than 100 million units and made him much wealthier than his sport ever did. I remember, like I said, the fight with Ali where he lost. And I remember he was on his way to the campus, and Ali held back and didn't hit him no more. And he asked Ali why. You had enough. He said, man, he always thought Ali was a class act. So did we all. George Foreman, one of our greatest. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. Where we at, music? I don't play with me. There you go. All right, WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. You know, I tell you what, you want to hear some strong black women tune in to WHGE. As I said, Sister Samantha Hollins, her show comes on today at 3. It's always interesting. She always has some great topics. You don't want to miss that right here on WHGE 95.3 FM. All right. You know, the Orange Disaster will go down in history as the first American president to have willingly betrayed his own country in service to a foreign enemy. His acts of treason will be taught in history books for generations to come, and the name Trump will become synonymous with treachery. All right? It will replace Benedict Arnold. But to hear Fox News, hey, this is the most patriotic president we ever had. And to hear MAGA nuts and cult members, they'll tell you, I saw it right on Fox News. You know what? Using Fox News to support your argument is like saying you're a marine biologist because you watch SpongeBob SquarePants. You dumbass. You know, Fox News is the journalism, what pro wrestling is the sports. Can you spell BS? And I don't mean biscuit sauce either. Yeah, that's where these people are going so crazy with this deportation and scuttling DEI and what have you. All they're doing is doing damage. It's amazing. That's what they're doing. Like, for instance, okay, Trump's DHS, Department of Department of Health. They just deported a surgeon from Brown University Medical School who was here legally on a H-1B visa that doesn't expire until 2027 and has committed no crimes. Trained in the U.S. at Ohio State University of Washington and Yale as a transplant surgeon, one of the most difficult surgical fields in all of medicine. She is a highly trained doctor on kidney transplants, which cannot be easily replaced. Her phone was seized at the border. A federal judge handed down an injunction against her deportation, but she was already deported on a plane en route to Paris. Brown's kidney transplant clinic is now strained by her deportation. Dummies. Keys Louise. You know, and what they're doing with this erasing DEI or anything that pertains to black people, these morons actually took down the photo of the Enola Gay because the word gay was in there. You know what the Enola Gay is? The Enola Gay was the plane that was used when they bombed Japan. Yeah. When they bombed Japan with nuclear bombs. All right. And they keep going. They keep going. They keep going. What's up, brother, Miss Bob? That's right. The U.S. Army erased Medgar Evers from Arlington's National Cemetery website, as well as Jackie Robinson. The decision to erase Evers came after an executive order by Trump to eliminate all diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. World War II veteran Medgar Evers, whom President Trump called a great American hero, that's a surprise, he's been erased from the Arlington National Cemetery website, which featured a section honoring Black Americans who fought in the nation's wars. The U.S. Army purged this section that had lauded the late Army sergeant and civil rights leader who was assassinated by white supremacists in Jackson in 1963. The decision to erase Evers came after an executive order by Trump to eliminate all diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. You know, and it don't stop. It gets worse. It gets worse. All right. It's from Brother Hameen. This is truly amazing and outrageous. The New York Times identified 199 words and phrases you can't say in the Trump administration. These include biased, climate science, female, women, socioeconomic, underprivileged, and cultural heritage. Okay. According to TNR, applying to a government grant, it's okay to say, give me some effing money. But it's not okay to say, give me some money to study the trauma suffered by at-risk minorities, because trauma, at-risk, and minorities are on the forbidden list. I guess no one told Trump that variations on the word equal appear 7 times in the Constitution. In the graphic, in the list from the New York Times, the Trump administration includes words like activism, affirmative care, anti-racism, at risk, Black and Latinx, confirmation bias, DEI, disability, discriminatory, disparity, diverse groups, diversity, equal opportunity. Can't say none of that. Can't say none of that. And as Steve pointed out, you can't say felon either. Yeah. Why you can't say felon? Because the Orange Disaster is a convicted felon. Let me tell you something. I seen people, lose their jobs because they didn't tell that they were a felon or whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't care how many felonies are on your record. If you have less than 34, employers can't say nothing. No, don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. You can go in the army. I don't want to hear it. You can go in the military. You got less than 34 because the Orange Disaster has 34 felonies. I know people been in crime all their lives. They ain't got 34 goddamn felonies. The hell out of here. And you had these, of course, these companies that, a couple of days after the Orange Disaster was sworn into office, had companies that rolled back DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Yeah, I don't just say the letters, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Because they had tried to make DEI the N-word with the hard ER. Ain't that right, Target? Yeah. How much you lost so far? What is it? Last time I looked, it was 15. Got to be up to about $22 billion so far. Amazon. I used to see packages coming to the building where I live at all day, all the time. UPS was making 2 or 3 trips. One lady told me she has ordered so much that she don't know what she ordered. The package is just coming. If they show up with a llama, it is what it is. Well, you ain't got to worry about that no more. Ain't no more Amazon packages coming. Yes, sir. Coca-Cola. Oh yeah, Coca-Cola, they rolled back diversity, equity, and inclusion, and they went a step further. All right, bunch of rats. They gathered some of their Hispanic employees in a room and called ICE on them. Damn, kind of crap is that? Lowe's and Home Depot, Ford. Damn, I drive a Ford. I'm getting a new car. Yeah, Pepsi too. American Airlines, no surprise there. Segregation in flight, American Airlines. Of course, Bank of America, no surprise. Wells Fargo, one of the most crooked banks in the industry. What? Wells Fargo is crooked? Oh, yeah. Oh, Wells Fargo's got caught laundering drug money. They laundered something like damn near $1 billion worth of drug money. Got caught and paid a $50 million fine. Nobody went to jail. I'd take that deal. I damn sure would. I'd take that deal. I launder $1 billion and have to give up less than 3% of the money. Shoot, come on. Let's do it. That's where let's do it. McDonald's. Look, you shouldn't have been eating at McDonald's no goddamn way. You see some of the experiments online with McDonald's? Their burgers never go bad. And they won't deteriorate in acid or nothing. And you put that stuff in your body. I haven't eaten McDonald's in a little over a year now. I don't know if I have bragging rights for that, but yeah. But then you have some of the companies that are allies of diversity, equity, and inclusion, like Costco, BJ's Warehouse, of course, Ben & Jerry. Yeah. Sir. You know, JP Morgan. Yeah. And, you know, that list goes on. That list goes on. But you have those that have determined that racism is the way to go. They forget that we're a consumer economy and that the biggest consumers in the economy are black people. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. All right. WHGE 95.3 FM. All right. You know, it's something that I've noticed and I've spoken about young black people disappearing. Or young black people being found somewhere where they didn't frequent, hung by the neck in a tree. The lynching goes on. And then the cops show up and say, oh, yeah, I know he had his hands tied behind his back, but, you know, some of you black people are real flexible, and it was a suicide. So he climbed up the tree, tied that rope around his neck, tied his hands behind his back, and jumped out the tree and killed himself. You know what? I was born at night, not last night. I might have just got off the boat, but I got off in New York City. Now we had these twin brothers, Kadir Malik Lewis and Nazir Rahim Lewis, found dead by hikers in Bell Mountain. And the police said it was a murder-suicide. Twin brothers. Two twin brothers from Georgia believed to be headed to Boston to visit some friends when their family was notified they never made it to their destination. Instead, the two were found dead in the mountains bordering North Carolina. Now the family is pushing back on police's troubling conclusion of what happened to the boys. Twins Kadir and Nazir Lewis, 19, were expected to make a 7 a.m. flight out to Boston Friday morning. The family tells 11 Alive News. However, around 11 a.m. Saturday morning, they were notified police that the boys were found dead. Authorities said hikers reaching the top of Bell Mountain in Hiawassee, Georgia, called 911 to report the bodies of the twins. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation said the two were found shot to death. The report says the brothers' plane tickets were still inside their wallets. Nothing but questions swarmed the incident, considering the family was unfamiliar with the area where the twins were found. How did they end up up in the mountains? They don't hike out there. They've never been there. They don't know anything about Hiawassee, Georgia. They never even heard of Bell Mountain. So how did they end up right there? While the autopsy results are pending, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation ruled the incident to be an alleged murder-suicide based on the preliminary investigation, which is impossible considering the twins were inseparable and had no evident history of conflict. They were very protective of each other. They loved each other. They were inseparable. I couldn't imagine them hurting each other because I've never seen them even get into a fist fight with each other. And that's what their uncle, Raheem Bronner, said. And then we had this huge development in the case of the twin brothers. And that's volunteer firefighter Scott Curley. And he's been arrested in connection with the case. More questions have been raised after a North Georgia firefighter has been arrested and charged in connection to the tragic killings of the twin brothers. According to reports, the firefighter was fired on March 14 after he allegedly violated department protocol. He's passing out photos of their dead bodies. If you know anything about the history of lynching, what you know is the reason we have so many photos of people being lynched, because white people were celebrating the lynching and taking pictures and making postcards and sending them out. He did the same damn thing. So we need to know what his involvement was in this and who was with him. Because these boys were kidnapped. I don't give a damn what you say. These boys were kidnapped and lynched. Lynch doesn't always mean a rope. They're kidnapped and murdered, and then he took pictures to brag about it. Who was with him in this? I need to find that out. Who was with him in this? Because he's sending out postcards of the lynching that he celebrated that took place. He wasn't the only one. You need to find that out, Georgia Bureau of Investigation, with your BS about some murder-suicide. I'll be damned. WHGE 95.3 FM, Dope and I. All right. Patrice Gibbs here on Open Eye. If you tune in, you know what I said at the end of the program. Gas. Yeah, I tell you, I got that from expressing it like that from Cyrus Suit and Setting, General Setting, great historian, brother. Yes, global African supremacy is coming, y'all. Yeah, it's coming. And I'm going to tell you who's leading the way. Okay, Burkina Faso. Yeah, Burkina Faso with their visionary leader, young leader, Ibrahim Touré. And Ibrahim, he ain't taking no stuff. He ain't taking no stuff. He ain't for this Western colonization of the mind. He's not with these former enslavers and enslavers coming in with their brand of spirituality. I tell you, one of the things that he's done, he's pushed and encouraged craftsmen, engineers, and what have you in this country to take up the work. Now, Burkina Faso, encouraged, supported by Ibrahim Touré, are now producing, manufacturing electric cars. They're nice looking too. And they didn't have step on it. Of course, it's going to be damn near impossible to get one here with the tariffs that the Orange Disaster and his puppet master, elongated muskrat, have implemented. Yeah, Burkina Faso, the model of African leadership. And they made their judges take off them white wigs and put on traditional African caps. That's right. Yeah, it don't stop there. It don't stop there. The brother got it going on. And he is what he is doing is he's decolonizing the minds of his people. All right. He dropped French as the official language. Let me tell you something about official language. And he removed the French colonial rulers' names from streets, banned colonial era barrister wigs, like I said. He paid off the debt to the West, and he just taking control of the country's resources. This is what you call an independent African country. Okay. So, of course, he's being approached to try to get him to recolonize his people's minds and what have you. Ain't happening. Burkina Faso's revolutionary leader, Ibrahim Touré, the youngest leader of any country in Africa, was just offered by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia to allow Saudi Arabia to build 200 new mosques in Burkina Faso. Yeah, that's right. Hey, brother Lawrence. Alan Lawrence. Yeah, so Alan Lawrence from the Week in Review, the day at 5, tune in. Ibrahim Touré is a Muslim man, but he responded. He responded to Mohammed bin Salman with a different suggestion. And he said, I greatly appreciate your offer, but my people can pray anywhere. If the people of Gaza can continue to pray, why do my people need 200 new mosques right now? Maybe one day that would be great. But right now, the people of Burkina Faso need new hospitals, new schools, new jobs to simply stay alive amid threats of Western aggression. It's exceptional leadership from Ibrahim Touré, which exemplifies why the West has tried to unalive him at least 16, 18 times in over the past 2 years. That's why the brother watches back. He don't shake hands, he give you a fist bump. You don't know what you rubbed on your hands to rub off on him. Yes, and he carries a firearm. Because you roll up on him with that assassination crap, he gonna bust a cap in your ass. See, the West fears a truly sovereign and brilliant mind, and a young leader like Ibrahim Touré has the capacity to take Africa into a sovereign and free future. 2 years of Ibrahim Traoré as they took over the stewardship of the country. This is a report sheet for that period. Okay? Burkina Faso's GDP grew from approximately 18 billion to 22 billion. He rejected loans from the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. He said Africa doesn't need the World Bank, IMF, Europe, or America. He reduced the salaries of ministers and parliamentarians by 30% and increased the salaries of civil servants by 50%. He paid off Burkina Faso's local debts. He established 2 tomato processing plants, the first ever in Burkina Faso, making Burkina Faso the 3rd leading exporter of tomatoes. In 2023, he inaugurated a state-of-the-art gold mine to enhance local processing capabilities. He stopped the export of unrefined Burkina Faso gold to Europe. Okay? Now, why is that important? I'm going to tell you. Because the West, Europe, and America would not for a long time, and still don't for the most part, accept or allow the importation of already processed goods. They will only take the raw material and process it. There's no profit in the African country whose resources are stolen. Because when you sell the raw material, you don't get the money that you get when you sell the processed product. And that's why he stopped the export of unrefined gold to Europe. He built Burkina Faso's 2nd cotton processing plant. Previously, the country only had 1. He opened the first ever national center for artisanal cotton processing to assist local cotton farmers. He banned the wearing of British legal wigs. He prioritized agriculture by distributing over 400 tractors, 239 tillers, 710 motor pumps, 714 motorcycles to boost production and support rural stakeholders. He provided access to improved seeds and other farm inputs to maximize agricultural output. Yeah. Tomato production rose. Millet production rose. Rice production increased. And now they're growing wheat, no longer importing wheat. Because the colonizers wouldn't allow colonized countries to grow food where they could feed themselves. And rice production increased from 280,000 metric tons in 2022 to 326 metric tons in 2024. He banned all French military operations. He banned the French media, and he expelled French troops from Burkina Faso. His government is constructing new roads, widening existing ones, that's right, and upgrading gravel roads to paved surfaces. He has taken Africa into a sovereign and free future. Protect that brother. Protect that brother. WHGE 95.3 FM, gas. Dope and I. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. The third eye optometrist, host Patrice Gibbs, right here with you. All right. Excuse me. Capitalism has actually destroyed the family unit by forcing parents into the workplace for 80 to 120 hours a week and making basic human needs unaffordable, forcing debt on all and equating human worth with money. Generations of children are left on their own to navigate this toxic environment. Why? Because they want to price you out of existence. That's why they're making poverty illegal. Not in so many words, but that's what you're doing. It's going to come to the point where if you've been unemployed for a certain amount of time, you're a vagrant. All these people out here living in these tent cities and what have you, they're going to be snatched up, gathered up, processed, and put into prison. That's that. Because slavery is illegal, except if you are duly convicted of crime. And that's what that's what it's about. Now you think about this. As Trump guts the Department of Education, remember that his plan to cut the corporate tax rate to 15% would give the 100 largest corporations a tax cut larger than the entire department's K through 12 budget. Really, think about how twisted this all is from Robert Reich. You know how they decide to build prisons and how they decide where? Gutting the Department of Education. They look at third grade reading tests. And if they're at a certain level, this is the area we need to build prisons, because these people are not going to graduate from high school. These people are going to be dropouts, and they're going to get involved in a life of crime, and we're going to be ready for them. They're setting up the profit from prison. This is called the school to prison pipeline. Yeah. Because if you're educated, what? You're unfit to be a slave. And you know, it's something, executive order that the Orange Disaster signed. He signed anything these 2025 controllers put in front of him, is to make English the official language. And I know that makes a lot of white people happy, because I've seen them in stores and stuff and get all bent out of shape because someone's not speaking English, because they're not being centered. That's really interesting, how adamant they are that you speak English. They're adamant. How can the population be convinced a lie is the truth? Well, 21% of Americans are illiterate. That's 52 million adults. 54% of Americans can't read beyond the level of an 11-year-old. That's 141 million Americans that are not smarter than a fifth grader. 57% of Americans have no education past high school. America ranks 36th in the world for literacy levels. White U.S.-born adults are the largest group with low literacy. But English is the official language of the country. You can't even speak English, you idiot! God damn! You can't even speak English! I know so many of you don't even speak the language well. And turn around. Now, we speak English here. No, you don't. You speak broken English. Some bastardized form of the language that you brought over from Britain. Damn. It's just amazing to me, man. I tell you, I don't know how in the hell y'all get the nerve. G's Louise. Now, what is 2025 about? What is the underlying force of 2025? It's to bring back segregation. Yeah, that's why they want to gut all the advances that were made in the 60s during the civil rights movement. Affirmative action, diversity, equity, and inclusion. They want to gut all that. Hey, Sister Tracy, good to see you there. Remember the signs? I remember, and you know, I was a kid when the signs finally came down. But I saw enough documentaries and read enough, because my mom's 4 favorite words are, here, son, read this. Waiting room for colored only. Whites only, colored only. The contract clause deleted from federal regulations last month dated back to the mid-1960s. Segregated facilities are no longer explicitly banned in federal contracts. All right? Specifically said entities doing business with the government should not have segregated waiting rooms, drinking fountains, or transportation. After recent change by the Orange Disaster regime, the federal government no longer explicitly prohibits contractors from having segregated restaurants, waiting rooms, and drinking fountains. And some of you goddamn people don't want to drink out of nowhere. I don't drink out of water fountains. Y'all nasty. The segregation clause is one of several identified in a public memo issued by the General Services Administration last month affecting all civil federal agencies. The memo explains that it is making changes prompted by the Orange Disasters Executive Order on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, which repealed an executive order signed by Lyndon B. Johnson in 1965 regarding federal contractors and non-discrimination. The memo also addresses Trump's executive order on gender identity. While there are still state and federal laws that outlaw segregation and discrimination that companies need to comply with, legal experts say this change to contracts across the federal government is significant. It's symbolic, but it's incredibly meaningful in its symbolism. A constitutional lawyer at New York University, Melissa Murray, said, these provisions that require federal contractors to adhere to and comply with federal civil rights laws and to maintain integrated rather than segregated workplaces were all part of the federal government's effort to facilitate the settlement that led to integration in the 1950s and 60s. The fact that they are now excluding those provisions from requirements for federal contractors speaks volumes. Deleted mentions of drinking fountains, transportation, housing. The clause in question is the federal acquisition regulation known as the FAR, a huge document used by agencies to write contracts for anyone providing goods and services to the federal government. Basically, they want to bring back segregation. Okay, the problem that the MAGA will have with having English as the official language is that it doesn't stop people from speaking other languages anywhere. That's so true. Right? And of course you have those companies and people with contracts that are not going to go along with this resegregation. And you think about, what is all this about? Why are they abolishing affirmative action, getting rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion, pushing to resegregate? Because I'm going to tell you, I don't give a damn about segregation. Because we do a lot better on our own. It's the mayonnaise mafia that should really care. And we should embrace it. How could you say that? Embrace segregation? Oh, yeah. Yeah, because see, we're the different people. Because when there was segregation, what we did was we showed ourselves to be very highly skilled at managing the state. Because we built up communities that surpassed anything they could do. Now, what we have here, what their goal is not really segregation, it's apartheid. Where we, as a people, have no say in government. We have no say in the infrastructure, no say in what goes on in schools and what have you, in our economy and our health care. And that's okay. How could you say that? Because we are not a manufacturing economy anymore. We are a consumer economy. And who are the largest consumers in our economy? Black people. So let's get back to the dollar bouncing 30 times in our community before it leaves our community. See, Ohio showed us what we need to do when this segregation comes back. Because as we build up our communities, see, they don't really want segregation, like I said. They want apartheid. They want us to come work their fields, come work their factories, come do their slave labor, and then go on back to the ghetto or to our depressed communities. But now, not only do we still have the wherewithal to manage a state, okay, but we have the intolerance not to allow them to do what they did in Tulsa and Rosewood. And that's come in and destroy our communities after we built them up. The hell with that. That's why I say Ohio showed us the way. Protect our communities. You can come with that crap if you want to. You can get cat popped up in your ass. That's right. So bring on the segregation. But remember, when you do, leave our hairstyles alone. No more Kardashians and white women running around talking about they invented box braids. No, you didn't. No more wearing our fashions and copying our styles and the way we articulate. Don't be trying to participate in AAVE. For those of you who don't know, that's African American Vernacular English. I like one of the things that what's the rapper CeeLo said on that song, I'll Be Around. He said, I'm from the South and some of the most beautiful things come out my mouth. And that's black people overall. If we get something to say, it's nothing like it. That's right. Some of the most articulate people to stand on the world stage. I can name two who were undoubtedly black in their way of articulating. Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. That's right. So yeah, come on with the segregation. Come on. Oh, you thought we was gonna get upset about it? No, we're gonna go ahead and keep our money and stay home. Because you are not gonna fool us into getting out here in the streets. The orange disaster and these white racists, these are white people's problem. And y'all need to deal with it. We're going to go stay over here and do our work. Do what we got to do to uplift ourselves, to heal ourselves economically, socially, spiritually, physically. We ready for your ass. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. Yeah, WHGE 95.3 FM. We get a PSA in here. Are you a homeless veteran or in danger of homelessness? Contact Delaware Center for Homeless Vets. You can get help with emergency housing, permanent housing, security deposits, rental arrears, your utilities. Enroll in their supportive services for veteran families program. That's Delaware Center for Homeless Vets. Changing veterans' lives all over Delaware. All right. 2 years ago, I had a debate with a Facebook friend on Facebook about a comment that came up. Now, this brother, in spite of some of the things he may have said that I may have disagreed with, don't get him mixed. This brother is true to his community. I'll say it like that. When it comes to spirituality, our plight and what have you, he's on our side, in spite of where he works and with some of the views that I disagree with him. The question came up, what if all black churches pooled offerings and created a mega black credit union that issued black businesses loans to its members? And brother came back and said, it sounds good in theory, but many of them already have their accounts with black banks. The issue isn't that there's not enough capital available. It's more, are you worthy of receiving credit? I had to respond. The issue is that many of them have accounts in banks that discriminate no matter how great your credit. For many of these racist banks, your worthiness is not based on your credit score. Is it discrimination or is it credit worthiness? That was his response. I responded, Bank of America fined $355 million for discrimination. JP Morgan fined $55 million for discrimination. Bank of America fined $10 million for discrimination. Discrimination, that's the short list. Blacks pay more for goods and services, higher interest rates on car loans, are regularly turned down for business loans, are turned down for mortgages, are pushed to subprime predatory mortgages set up to lead to foreclosure. The banking industry is one of the worst perpetrators. Excuse me. The banking industry is one of the worst perpetrators of not only racism, but predatory racism in the country. And that's not news. And it's based on evidence. It's appalling to blame the victims of these perfidious, predatory, racist institutions when whites with the same level of knowledge and financial habits come away unscathed. And the brother said, this is an emotional issue, and clearly me telling you what I know for a fact isn't going to make a difference. Does that mean financial institutions are entirely blameless? No. But people will continue to suffer and languish in the same unproductive position from a simple lack of financial and physical knowledge. Well, when you blame the victim and claim they are at fault for being ignorant and irresponsible, an emotional response would be warranted. The thing is, there is nothing emotional about $1 billion in fines for discrimination. Whatever you may know for a fact can't change the fact of the historical institutionalized racism that has been in place over a century. Furthermore, it's shameful and weak to defend the industry you work in by declaring critical analysis of that industry's criminal racism as emotional. And the conversation went on. It was really interesting. And let me get to where it ended at. All right, this is germane to what I do. Because like I said, we went back and forth and what happened. And I ended with telling him, just like banking is what you do, the health of our people is what I do and what my family has done for 4 generations, and it is overwhelmingly important to me. It is highly important that I get it right and not just fly off on emotion. That's why I rarely respond or present unless I have done the research and can present facts backed by empirical evidence. I personally can't stand toe-stubborn victims who cry racism. Now, what I mean by that, you have some of our people, they stub their toe on the table, and one for white people. I can't stand that. Because we have too much real stuff that goes on. And they're a hindrance and damage those of us that deal in reality. So believe me, when I call racists on their crap, no matter how intricate or subtle, I got the proof in my pocket. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. All right. Yeah, I went a little over. I came in a little late and get my 4 hours in at least. Yeah. And I tell you, hope you learned something. Because I learned something before I came in here. Yeah, as I always do. As we always tell you, destiny determines who enters your life, but you decide who stays. Therefore, value those who value you, and don't treat those as a priority who treat you as an option. And before I do sign off, I want to say thank you all who post great information and what have you to help move my show along. Appreciate all of you. All right. I'm Patrice Gibbs. This has been The Open Eye. Yes, indeed. And as I always tell you, global African supremacy, because the world was a much better place when the African rule is coming.